My name is Darrell Auterson, and I'm the President and CEO of the McKinney Economic Development Corporation in McKinney, Texas. Well, I'm actually the brand new president. I'm about to start my new position, but a typical day I will anticipate is going to be that we'll be very involved in leading the creation of the vision for economic development across our city, which will be involved in kind of the traditional activities of business recruitment, business retention and expansion, new business development, and working closely with our many partners in the community to make sure that we have the strongest economic environment that we can have so we can be successful in growing our economy. I'm probably one of the unusual professionals in that I actually went to college to train to become an economic development professional. That's not a common occurrence in this profession. Most people in economic development have kind of gravitated from some other chosen field of work or profession. I actually was an urban planner. I studied urban planning with a specialization in economic development. I was really good in economics in high school, and I won awards for that, and I wanted to be able to use those economic aptitudes in a way that could benefit my community. And when I learned about what was called the Urban Regional Studies program at the university that I went to, and that they had a specialization in economic development, I thought, this is the perfect trajectory for me. And I've been doing this for the last 35 years, and I haven't imagined ever wanting to do anything else. Well, I think when you're very much civic-minded and focused on giving back the way I am, I always wanted to be able to do something that would better my community, that would better people's lives. And economic development was my calling. The fact that I was really good in economics, and the fact that I wasn't studying theory and I wasn't reporting charts or trends or things of that nature that an economist would normally do. I'm actually working in the community day in and day out, trying to help better the community and to create job opportunities to help uplift our society and our citizens in our community. And that really gives me a lot of gratification. Anytime we can do something that enhances the quality of life for our citizens, I get a real rush from that. Absolutely. Anyone that's been in this business for any period of time has, I'm sure, in effect, improved the environment in which they were in. I've always tried to focus on how can I leave this community that I'm coming into a better place than when I got here. And I've had some significant successes over the course of my career. I've had some significant failures as well. Any economic development professional will tell you that you probably learn far more from your failures, but when you do have success, you try to really appreciate that success and bask in it for as long as you can, because in economic development there's a catchphrase that, what have you done for me lately? You're only as good as probably your last deal. IEDC, I think, has been just an absolutely vital part of my career. Particularly since its creation. I was actually involved heavily with the American Economic Development Council back before it merged with CEcD to create IEDC. And I've always had a passion for trying to give back to the profession in some way. And when CEcD and AEDC came together to create IEDC, it became apparent that there was a commitment to the practitioners in this field to try to continue to advance the level of professionalism in economic development. And through programs like the certification program, which I've had the good fortune of being a CEcD for many years, and in more recent years, the creation of the Economic Development Research Partners, I think that is one of the most significant initiatives that IEDC has ever undertaken. And I'm proud to be very closely involved and affiliated with that effort. And it's just a first-rate organization with first-rate professionals, the membership all across the country. They are true professionals, and it's an honor to be a part of that fraternity. It's the constant change. There are so many different factors that are influencing the way we do economic development. We're getting squeezed from literally every direction. We're trying to do more with less. We're trying to meet the expectations of our communities. And these are complex times. And economic developers, if they're not committed to constantly sharpening the saw, constantly learning, it's that continual learning process that we hear about consistently. You have to be a lifelong learner. And then in this profession, the best way to learn is through working with your colleagues and learning and sharing experiences from your fellow economic developers that are doing different things in different parts of the country or parts of the world. And the more that we're willing to share our experiences with one another, and the more we can take best practices and learn from those and adapt some of those kinds of best practices in our own communities, we all win when we do that. But it's an absolute necessity nowadays because the rate of change is something that's certainly not going to slow down, and we have to be able to change and anticipate what the next changes are that are going to be coming. Well, I think probably from a kind of a broad context is that I think most communities all across this country, in the past, economic development may have been a fairly narrowly defined path of activity, that what was oftentimes referred to as the three-legged stool, that if you're an economic development organization, you do business attraction, you do business retention and expansion, and you do new business development. But beyond that, that was kind of the wheelhouse. And you get beyond that, it wasn't real common for that to happen. Nowadays, most economic development organizations, in addition to those traditional economic roles, they're finding themselves having to be experts in workforce development. They're having to become experts perhaps in redevelopment, in community development, in all kind of financing activities. You name it, there are so many community-related activities that economic developers find themselves having to engage in some level, at some level, in some way, shape, or form. And I think it's probably the rare occasion where you would find an economic developer that has a very narrow focus, that they've had to broaden their focus and broaden their expertise and their knowledge base consistently because it's becoming a more complex profession. It's a balancing act. I think it's always going to be, in particular going into my new community of McKinney, McKinney is recognized as having an incredible standard of living, a high quality of life, and the last thing that the community would ever want to do would be to sacrifice that quality of life. We want to have quality growth and development. We want to make sure that we master plan and shape our vision. We want to, in essence, draw the roadmap of where we're going to go. And so we have to balance the progress with making sure that we're not sacrificing the quality of life that we hold precious. So that's always a little bit of a challenge, because if anyone who, and I've said this throughout my whole career, economic development is never just all upside. There are sacrifices that are made. You have increased traffic congestion, you have stresses on your infrastructure, you're putting more people, more students in school districts, you're placing greater burdens on your tax system. There are lots of factors that are not always positive, but the alternative, of course, is stagnation and decline. Economic development, you want to have smart economic development, very well planned and staged economic development so that you're not reacting to explosive growth, that you're managing your growth and you're managing it in a way that you're bringing quality growth and quality development to your community. My best piece of advice is to bring your A game and bring who you are. Be a sponge. Definitely seek out the practitioners and your colleagues. Don't be shy about asking a 30-year economic development professional about things that they've seen in their career. You definitely want to learn as much as you can from your peers, but you want to bring your enthusiasm, your passion, your creativity, your innovation, because we need that in this profession. As I said earlier, this is such a rapidly changing world, it's such a rapidly changing profession that we need creative professionals that are going to be serious economic developers and who are going to bring their experiences, because this world is going to be their world. And it's important for them to help shape the vision of the future and not look in the rearview mirror and think, okay, well, that's the way it's been done in the past. I'll just keep doing the way things have been done in the past. The new professionals that are coming into this need to be shaping the landscape for the future. Well, it used to be that everyone was a smokestack chaser, as it was known, or the great buffalo hunt, that what was thought of as economic development was that headline that you landed a manufacturing company that was going to employ 500 jobs in your community. Well, those kinds of projects, while they still occur, nowadays economic development and the definition of success in economic development has changed dramatically. Economic development is in the eye of the beholder. So every community is different in terms of what they would view as high quality economic development that makes sense for them. It's going to be different from one community to the next. So the tools today is the ability certainly to learn from your fellow practitioners about things that they have had success with, and to really understand what your community sees as the right kind of economic development for its circumstances, and making sure that you can tailor your strategy so that you are satisfying the needs of your local community, because it's never a template or a boilerplate. It's a much more tailored approach nowadays, and tapping into whatever resources you can access, whether it's fellow economic development professionals or other community-based organizations more and more nowadays, because economic development is not something that any one particular organization takes on by itself. It really is a community activity, and you have to have lots of partners that you collaborate with, because they will bring expertise from a variety of different sources. It doesn't make sense, and it's frankly not practical for an economic development organization to try to be an expert in every single thing that a community needs. That's just not reasonable. I think it's always important to celebrate a profession that is committed to the betterment of others. We who have chosen this profession, I can't imagine that any of us chose this because we were seeking to get rich or that we were seeking our own self-gratification. We've pursued this profession because we felt like we had a higher calling. We felt like we could make a difference. And I know that that's what's driven me over the course of my career, and what's driven me to be as involved in an organization like IEDC, is that I feel like I have to give back. I have a duty, a responsibility to try to bring a better standard of living for the people that I represent in my community. And I'm committed to that day in and day out. And I would be very surprised if 100% of the economic development professionals that you interview, if they don't say that same thing. We're in it because it's the right thing to do, and we want to improve the lives of our fellow man and woman. Yeah, so it's critical that we have that kind of selflessness in this profession in order to be successful. Well, I think as most professions, in folks that are grappling with this, I don't want to say that it's unique to the economic development profession. All of us are going to be facing ever-increasing challenges, the rapid pace of constant change, the advent of technology. We are facing a world where businesses are using technology to replace human beings. And the reality is, for a profession that has been centered around job creation, with technology making it so much easier for businesses to be more productive with less and less human capital, it's a changing environment, and we have to adjust our strategies so that we can continue to help create the kind of employment opportunities that are going to respond and anticipate what technology is going to be doing to change the landscape of the future. It's an ever-shifting tide, and we have to be on our A game. We have to try to anticipate, and we have to use technology to our advantage, because we can't do it the old way that we did it. We have to find new ways to translate into success, the definition of success of economic development going forward. It's going to look different 10 years from now than it did 10 years ago.